Wuna, Niakit, Janet. Alitos, yo, Gwina, Stongo, Oshkinyacha. Hanipi,
Yeah, ate.
Ansti Huntirish, Kikadoos,
Oh yeah. That's the
um,
Comanche one.
Badawika,
Yeah.
Kunumante. Good morning, good morning. Coming live from 1950 South Shepherd. Would you like to introduce yourself? For
Good
those who don't know.
morning. Good morning. My name is Natalie Harjo. I am Seminole Creek, so I am not Cheyenne, and I'm barely awake. So we'll see how this goes today.
Well, thank you for joining us. First things first, I feel like it's been a while since I've got to come back on. And always a pleasure. I feel honored, when I get to do I make it a priority. Like this is like part of my day when I get to work. So when I don't get to do this, I don't know, like I'm always like, who's gonna do the live?
Yeah, I know.
Like I'm all worried about it. And they could care less.
I don't think y'all even got alive
Yeah.
last week. Maybe.
I know. I don't even know. Like I didn't ever get to tune. Actually, I don't even think I got to look at my phone, but a handful
No.
of times.
No, neither one of us did.
So I mean, it's all right. It's all right. So sorry. Gotta apologize to our viewers. Because we got some pretty loyal viewers.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
like, and to me, when I think about this, I think about when I got to meet Mr. Koyes,
Hmm.
and he loved the fact that we're reaching people through the cloud.
Right.
It's a new type of communication, I guess, and he likes that. He just likes what we're doing over here, and I like that meant the world to me.
Yeah.
Like I. That's why I look forward to doing this. So
Well, it is a good way to get a hold of people because a lot of times you can't. I mean, you can reach out, but like social media is really a dominant society these days too. So,
yeah,
but I mean, you've got viewers here from Canada sometimes.
yeah,
Sometimes they're out of state, and some of them overseas,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because there's somebody here from Germany sometimes, and
yeah.
all of these. Oh, you have here come your people. Stongo Jeremy Harjo. Stongo naですか? Stongo na desu. Janotsuki lake to. Like that means I'm sitting here sleepy. Sally Nieto, good morning.
Good
Byron
morning. Good
Johnson,
morning.
Chokmaski.
Chokma.
Chokma family. Tobias Morales, good morning,
Morning.
y'all.
Morning, Tobias.
He must be from Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, that's my
Oh,
brother.
oh,
That's my brother Toby.
and Mr. Dave Levi tuning in
Oh
from West
hey,
Side
hey, hey.
OKC, not the
Right.
West Side.
Always.
Four
Yeah.
fingers up, two twisted in the middle.
Yeah, I gotta give a shout out to South Coast Behavioral. You know, I I'm gonna be leaning a lot on South Coast here, here pretty soon,
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate what they do over there. So, I gotta give it big props to Justin Evans, my bro Dallas, even though he's a Karen, and to my brother David Levi. So shout out to South Coast Behavioral and all the students, that are actively taking part in changing their lives. So,
Good morning, Mr. Nolene.
good morning, Mr. Nolene. That's my bro right there. He was sending me. I don't know, he's my best friend, right?
Uh-huh.
So it just be these random off messages, like they just come randomly, and I know it makes us both laugh. And probably the only two guys that it makes laugh, but I enjoy, So good morning, bro.
Oh, Kat. I was just asking about you this morning.
She was.
We were very much in prayer this weekend, and I prayed for all of our family, and I was thinking about you this weekend. She said, "Good morning, you two." Brother Carrie Nato. 18 months today.
Hey, all right, brother. All right.
Good stuff. Keep going. And Jeremy Harjo said Dallas just laughed.
Nah, Dallas is one of my good bros, man. Me and Dallas goes back. Me and Dallas go way back. I know he likes to stir the pot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And every time, like I don't know, I know him on that level.
Sally
You
said,
know.
I'm Cheyenne, also watching from Oklahoma City. Hope
Oh
y'all have a
hey
blessed
hey,
day. And good
Una.
morning, Sister Cassandra up of Walnut. Good
Good morning. And I got to
morning.
tell Cassandra, thank you.
Definitely.
She really came through. Her and the sister Frida.
Hmm.
They really came through big for me. And I appreciate that. And I know you're gonna receive good blessings. From my understanding, is that you never turn down help, and that it doesn't matter what you do out there. Like you're gonna, the Creator sees it.
Yeah, it was good energy out there this
It
weekend.
was. It
Very
was.
good. We had everybody played a role, no matter how big or little, and all of the laughter and goofy stuff that was going on. So like, but yeah, Cassandra, I mean, we all had a thing to do and we were all good at the thing that we were doing. So, it worked out perfectly, exactly the way it needed to. So, oh, and here's a couple more comments. Let me catch it up. Can you scroll back up just a little bit? All right. Good morning, Sister Legend. Good morning, brother and
Hey.
sister. Today I'm 240 days well. My
Wow.
wrist and hip is healing. I give all the praise and glory to my higher power. Blessings to you
Appreciate
all.
you. I hope you have a good day, Shannon.
And Kat says, thank you for them prayers, sister. Brother Drew, good
Morning.
morning.
Morning, little brother.
Sister Mary Faye, Kikadu's been missing you
Kid.
guys. We missed everybody too. We did think about the live though, like
Yeah.
every day that we were out and about doing stuff. So let's see.
Yeah, and I got to give a big shout out to my little brother.
Oh, definitely.
Drew came through big for me. And I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate everything that he did. It just like I don't know, like in being blind and in my situation, you just kind of at the mercy of everybody else. And then when things come through and the way that they did, I just can't. I just don't. I can't give enough thanks.
Yeah. And kind of falls along the lines of being in recovery too. It's hard to ask for help,
Yeah, it is.
especially when you need it the most. And like,
Yeah.
and you didn't even have to ask. They just provided.
Oh yeah.
They came over and took care of you first before they took care of themselves, and that was a blessing. That was definitely a
Yeah.
blessing. So,
And that's why I love being from where I'm from.
right, right.
I love being from Thomas. And I love the fact that I just man, my guys, not only me but the whole camp kind of leans on them.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, Skillet,
Yeah,
Willie G. I mean, those are some hard working men.
definitely,
And
definitely.
it just feels great. To realize that I can always lean on them. Drew, Skillet, Willie G. I mean, my brother Craig. I mean, like the birds. They all showed up.
Definitely,
Terry.
definitely.
And Ethan. And it's like I don't know. It's like everything worked out the exact way it was supposed to work out.
Yeah, and the girls,
Yes.
Leanna,
My daughters.
Brianna, and Hallie, I mean, they were amazing. Everybody had a role to play, and everybody, we do our thing outside in this world, and in that world, sometimes we struggle, but they did not struggle at all. Like
Oh
they
no.
did what they needed to do, and I mean, it went smoothly. And then I had family show up, so my mom and my stepdad came one day, and good energy and laughter, and my brother Wilson, and my sister Lee, and my daughter Mo showed up.
Yeah.
That night, and I mean, they couldn't sit down and be visitors. They had to come and help stoke the fire and cut food, and that's what we do. And then my brother Wilson even got to help put up the center pole, and
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
just tripped out on that. My brother Kalani, shout out to Kalani, and my
Yeah.
son
Yes.
Hageka, they came and brought everything out, drove 3 hours to come drop off the
One way.
supplies. Yeah, one way. And it didn't want to leave when they got here and helped put up the teepee for the first time. And they were juiced about that, like mad juiced.
Yeah.
And like wanted to come back out. And there were other people that wanted to come out, but we have protocols that we follow, and we all respect that. So I mean, I just can't thank my family enough. Just energy. That's what we feed off, whenever it comes from, to ceremony. If we can't do it, we rely on that energy from our people to help carry us through. So that's why we always say pray for us. And so there's a couple more comments. You want to scroll back up just a little bit? Let's see if we missed anything. Oh yeah, a little bit more. Right there. Alex Dean says good morning.
Morning, AK.
Jeremy Harjo said Dallas said, but didn't finish anything. Hey, sister Leanna Thomas. Good morning. So great to see your faces. We've missed you too, Leanna. Isaac Rhodes, brother Isaac says good morning. Cassandra said glad to help. Thank you for your sacrifice for all of us. Cassandra and I were talking. How sometimes, we believe that something's keeping you from your greatness sometimes, and we had couple little things pop up with her, and she just kept pushing to come through, and she showed up when she needed to, and sometimes the devil gets in your way, like sometimes that bad energy gets in your way. You either got to push through or let it win, and she didn't let it win, so we appreciate you. Thank you for your sacrifice for all of us, she said. Leanna said Tay has 2 years of sobriety today. Darian told us this morning. So congratulations, Tay. And my oldest son, Wyatt Hageka, we call him Hageka, he has 6 months yesterday. So nice. Jana Wolf Necklace says Hihana. Is that how you say that? Hihani? Hihana? I don't know, but that's as close as I can get. I appreciate you, Jana. Cassandra also said everything worked out beautifully. It was such an honor to serve with all my sisters. It was a beautiful weekend. Everything, like even the heat was great. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Yeah, like if you see, like, oh my god, I can't do this right. Like it's ridiculous. Even my winter fade.
My ears got sunburned.
Yeah, I'm already August color, and it's just July. So Tom Woolworth says good morning, relatives from New Mexico.
Thanks for tuning in, Mr. Woolworth.
And Dave Levi said Barry looks about 3 shades darker than usual, trying to catch up with Randy Nolan. Trying to catch up with his tan line.
Never catch that guy, boy. I'm catching him.
Cassandra said it was a blessing to meet your family, Natalie. My mom had a really good time, but Lee and Wilson, they were texting me the next day going, oh my gosh, we had an amazing time. And I was teasing saying, it's funny because my family, a lot of us think that we know everything, right? And so whenever you come into something you don't know, it's really like, what? I have to ask all the questions so I can know. But it was wonderful. They were just really overwhelmed at the way the camp is even set up, like the shade on the sides, because ours are just on the top, they just covered on the top, but like they were really looking at that thinking, we might have to change some things. Might have to steal that. Jesse Boto,
morning.
Nyaket nephew Barry Botone in tour, and Jeremy Harjo finished his sentence and he said big love.
Already.
Cassandra said congratulations to Tay.
Yes.
And hey, brother Joshua Pickett. Good morning, Nat and Barry. Oh, and I saw a Facebook post on Josh. He was helping with the I can't remember Reels for Kids thing. He went to the benefit to go fishing with the kids this weekend, and I can't remember what it's called. Yeah. Well, he's a fisherman. He thinks he is. His dad's the real fisherman. I'm just playing, Josh. But yeah,
awesome, though.
So that's how his sobriety is going. That's what he uses a lot for in his recovery too.
I can see that, man. That's a lot of I grew up fishing.
So relaxing.
Country boy. You know what I mean? Like at one time I was a country boy. You couldn't tell this weekend because something would land on me. I'd be freaking out. What is that? But
crying around about little tiny bugs. At one point, I had a June bug. And I'm not. First of all, I'm not scared of snakes, spiders. They don't bother me. June bugs, grasshoppers. They don't bother me. But if anything, you could throw a teddy bear at me, and if it surprises me, I'm gonna swing. So I was lifting up, stuff, and we were still trying to stack up and set up the camp, and a June bug, because the lights were on. The lanterns were on, and so they were attracted to them. There was one right in front of me, and a June bug came and flew and landed on my glasses. Well, I had stuff in my hand, so I couldn't drop it. So I was shaking it off. Well, then it flies off and flies around and lands right on my lip. and like pinched it like really hard. And anyway, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so I was going, and everybody was freaking out around me because it landed on my lip, and then it flew off again, and then it came back and it popped me in the eye so hard I thought I was gonna have a black eye. Like, it was ridiculous hard. So I'm glad I'm not scared of them, because I probably would have dropped everything that was in that basket that I was carrying. Dave Dave Levi said that June bug was hanging off that Bubba Gump lip. Oh, but man, it was good. It was a good weekend. It really just worked out. We couldn't have planned it any better, the way everything worked out. The food was good. Everything worked out. So it was good. Help me with this name. Bial?
Bilal.
Bial? Von Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Von Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Sent an emoji. I can't even see it because I'm so far away and my glasses don't want to work. But anyway, it was a good weekend, and I mean, just a lot was done. It was a blessing to be there. So many prayers were answered. A lot of prayers went out. It was just very fulfilling. Exhausting by no means. I didn't really know what to expect because this is my first ever, coming to a Sundance. And so I remember when Dave was talking to you at one time about your first experience at Stomp Dance, and he said it really gave him Sundance vibes. It really that was true. That was a really nice comparison because, protocol and fasting, and making sure that your women's teachings, and all the things, the cooking, the fire, the willow, time and a place for everything kind of things. It really did give me green corn vibes, like very much ceremonial vibes. And so, like, I had that to start off with, so I started off ahead. But man, the hardest part I had, I think, all weekend was pointing. Like, that's not a rule for us. The only thing that we're not really supposed to point at is rainbows. But like at the camp, that was the hardest part for all of my family that showed up. I would tell them, because they would say, can we do this, can we do that? And I would be like, yeah, you can do that, but you can't do this. Or I was like, yeah, I can taste my food, because we're not allowed to taste our food when we're cooking for the camp until it's done. And so that was a hard thing for me to remember. And then even just getting to eat and drink, because we usually fast with our men. And so that was a nice experience in comparison from going from the juxtaposition of my ways, and then learning that. But like the pointing thing, that it killed all of my family. Every time they would come, I would be like, I had a fly swatter, and I kept slapping their hands like, hey, you're not supposed to point. But then I'd be real bad. So we got to where we were like motioning towards with our fist. But like at one point, I guess I was getting carried away, and Barry, before he went in, he walked over to me and he was like, here. He handed me a stick, and he goes, over here pointing around. And I was like, ah, dang, my bad. I was trying so hard. So hard. But
I think that's just like, I'm not sure like what the specifications are for not, but I think that's just like a rude gesture.
right.
To Native
It's supposed to be rude.
like it's a
Mhm.
rude gesture to point at somebody.
Well,
In general.
and even when I point, I'll be like this. Like, I'll like motion that direction. But like, yeah, I guess I was pointing. So yeah, that's really the only thing that we're not supposed to point at
Well,
is.
I'm trying to find that message that we got from Mr. Tipman.
Oh, I have it. Hang on.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Is that why you were all sidetracked? You
Well,
could
my
have said
daughters
something.
are like, they had something come up, but then they found a solution. My daughter was calling me, so
Oh, okay. So you want the announcement one?
yeah.
Okay.
Just to share it.
So blah 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 blah. Hang on a second. All right.
There is Native American Intercontinental.
Here it is right here.
I can't read.
Okay, that's fine. 2025 NAIAA convention announcements.
It's the AA. It's
Mhm.
Native American
Mhm.
Intercontinental Alcoholics Anonymous Conference.
And then the registration incentive is the first 100 pre-registrations to purchase for $150 by July the 29th will be entered in a special raffle and receive complimentary lunch tickets for both Friday and Saturday. This means if you're staying at the host hotel, all of your meals will be included. Host hotel incentives: book your reservation early and earn the chance to receive one night free during the convention. Breakfast station. All right, so this was the first one. Okay, I should have read this one first. This is the actual flyer. The 35th annual National International Native American Indian Alcoholics Anonymous Convention is August the 14th through the 17th, 2025. The sole purpose of this convention is to carry the message of Alcoholics Anonymous to the Native American Indian, both in and out of the program, who still suffer. This is an AA convention, and all AA members are welcome. So, we're always pressing Wellbriety, but we are not opposed to people going through, whatever works. Yeah, whatever works for you. And we are absolutely here to continue to support in every mode of recovery that you're in. So this is kind of to appeal to them that maybe Wellbriety's not your jam yet, or you don't know it yet, and both in and out of the program who still suffer. It's at the Embassy Suites by Hilton in Oklahoma City Northwest, and there is a hotel reservation number, and a group code is NAI. If you call, that will be your group code, NAI. There will be a social sobriety powwow on Saturday, 8/16, from 7:30 to 11:30. There's going to be a Friday night dance, a raffle, speaker meetings, old timers meeting, Saturday night banquet, flag ceremony, talking circles. There's going to be an Al-Anon brunch, social powwow, hospitality room, 24-hour marathon meetings. Oh, 24-hour marathon meetings. That's keen. Because, we were just talking about this recently. Sometimes when you are struggling, it's 2:00 in the morning when you need a meeting, and you have to wait. Sometimes not until, for a couple of days before you can find a meeting. And nowadays, that's why I'm glad that they have Zoom meetings and everything. But I get it. Sometimes at 2:00 in the morning was when I would be struggling and I needed to talk to somebody. So very recently we talked about somebody, maybe doing a midnight meeting, and so a marathon meeting continuous, that would be amazing, actually. Oh, and Phyllis the Realist.
Good morning, Phyllis.
Says, good morning. Which location for Sundance? We were at Hammond.
We went to Hammond.
And Mary Beaver says, good morning, tour.
Good morning, Mary.
So, but that was his. And then also, Albert, if you just happen to be watching this, we were very much in prayer for you.
Yes.
And also, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yes, happy Warrior Day. That was yesterday, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
25th birthday.
I just think it's so cool. I don't know if it's great, that you're both going through the same thing, but the fact that sometimes when we feel like we're the only ones suffering some type of illness or sickness or, whatever, that the Creator will find somebody that has gone through the same struggle. And, just like in recovery, we think about that. That's why we tell our story. But, that's part of it too. And, you ran into, Mr. Titman, and he had the same exact issues, just the opposite eyes.
Yeah.
He's missing an eye, and, and has a really cool fancy one. And then he had a retinal detachment. So he's going through the same issues.
Thing, so
yeah.
We see eye to eye on
not good eye to good eye, but
we see eye to eye on so many levels. So, it's always he's good people's, man.
Yeah, definitely.
They do a lot of good work out there.
He checks on us all the time.
He does, man. He's
great.
He's a great person.
He's a great friend, great ally.
I look up to him, So
yeah, nice big brother.
Yeah, so
it's nice to have a big brother, especially when, I'm the oldest child out of my family, oldest grandchild, oldest child, and and so my big sisters were my aunts who I was raised with, so they're like my my big sisters, but it's always nice to find somebody to turn to, because I didn't really have anybody to turn to. I turned to grandma, but she was always busy, and so it was nice to have those older siblings around.
Sure.
It's always nice, but
and him and I ain't trying to break anonymity or nothing, but there's a couple of people coming out from California for that conference.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
So it'll be it'll be a group that I look up to.
Yeah,
that's nice. They're heavily involved in recovery, whatever it's got to look like.
Yeah,
and that's how I feel. I feel the exact same way. Got a lot of friends who got sober through church.
Right.
You know, a lot of friends I got sober through NA. You know, CA,
Mhm.
MA. You know,
Right.
HA. Like there's so many different avenues. But you know,
Coda.
yeah, Coda. I mean, you know, there's just so many different avenues
Yeah.
that can be, that a person can pick up. You know,
Mhm.
what may work for me may not work for you.
And Brother Albert is a recover out loud.
No, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So anonymity with him, we're gonna talk about him all day, all night.
Yeah.
Oh, Sparrow. Sparrow is here. Good
Morning,
morning,
Sparrow.
Sparrow. Good morning, relatives.
Hope you get to come to the conference.
Yeah,
But you know
Jada.
it's busy though.
Yeah, she keeps the air hot.
On the go. On the go.
Jadalyn Diamond says good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
David Deerstongo, good
Hey,
morning
David.
from Glenpool, Oklahoma.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah,
Chincho
yes.
Kaidega, that's what they say. Stongo, Chincho Kaidega, that means like, did you make it through the night okay? And it's kind of hard to say, so Barry would just say Stongo. Hey, you can say that all day though. So Stongo. I said, Stongo no this. Jinda. I'm stonks. I'm okay. Anyway, but yeah,
But yeah, pretty eventful week.
very
Last
eventful.
week.
Definitely got some sun.
Definitely got some sun. You know, I don't know how many of the lives did they do, Patrick? None at
No,
all.
I
Huh?
think zero because I was looking to
Wow.
see, like, oh, maybe they're gonna do it.
You know, and I think probably I'm sure Johnny and Penelope might be tuning in. So
Well,
morning
there
to
were
my babies.
just yes. Good morning, Johnny and Penelope, or if you are here,
Nadina.
and Nadina. And I'm pretty sure there were probably four of y'all out last week for various
Yeah.
things. You know, Carmelo was out.
Carmelo, you know, I'm sending prayers to my
Send
brother
prayers,
Carmelo.
yes.
You know, he's still recovering. He had a
A
operation.
procedure done, yes. And then it, we're at DOH, but that's not a HIPAA violation. So hey, but anyway, yes, definitely send some prayers to him. He is he's recovering right now. He's on a clear liquid diet, so
That's
I'm gonna try to make some soup or something so we can get
That's
him
cool.
some really good clear liquids at least. You know, something
Yeah.
decent because I'm sure he's sick of that
So yeah,
for two
Carmelo was
weeks.
out.
Yeah,
Theta
Theta.
was out. Mingo was out, of
Mhm.
course. I
Yeah,
mean,
we don't even know where he
Mingo
is.
who?
Yeah, who's Mingo?
These kids right on it. You know, but
They're like, who's Mingo? Hey,
there's one thing.
he's the superstar that danced at the Thunder Parade.
Yes,
Eh?
but one of our youth workers, Amber.
Oh yeah,
So I'm hoping we get
yeah.
to see some of the
I
pictures.
hope so too.
We have a tea dress in the office that fit her perfectly, and she found her some mocks out here in the culture closet, and hopefully she got to be a part of that grand entry.
Yeah, I'm
At
sure.
Unity in San Diego.
I'm waiting to hear about this experience when she's done.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
the look on her, like the smile on her face when she was like, "Whose dress?" I was like, "Try
Uh
it on."
huh.
And if you can fit it, like I didn't even ask anybody,
Uh huh.
but the smile on her
Mm-hmm.
face, like anybody that would have seen that would have known like that dress was meant for her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I love being a part of something, those type of moments,
Mm-hmm.
and I just, hope she had a great time, hope she had a good experience, and I hope they make it home safely. I'm not sure if they've already came
Mm-hmm.
home. But then, we had some of our kids go out to Mesa, Arizona too, as well for NABI,
Mm-hmm.
Native American basketball. I don't know if it's an invitational or what.
I think,
But
yeah, I think it is an invitational.
well, my nephew, he plays with the runners for the ninth and 10th grade bracket.
The Buffalo Runners.
Yeah, no, no,
Okay.
no, no, no,
Oh,
no,
the
no,
runners.
just runners.
Okay, the
There's a
runners.
difference. Yeah, they're
Okay.
just runners.
Okay.
Uh, and they won.
Oh yeah, they won.
They champed out.
Yeah,
So that was pretty awesome.
that's pretty
I'm
cool.
not sure how many other teams did, but I just know that they champed out. So
They probably hate that Oklahoma comes and whoops them
I
every
know they
year.
do. I know they do. I was watching like the seventh and eighth grade game, and like they were playing against the Arizona team, and I think it was like semifinals or something like that. But the kid shoots a three, and that when he shoots it, the score is 28. Which is the Arizona team, and the Oklahoma, the other runners team, or it might have been Respect. It was 32-28. When the kid shoots, the score goes up to 30. And he missed it, and they got the rebound back, and they put it up again and made it. And then by then it was already 32-32, and I was like, yeah, like
Trying
I
to
don't
cheat
know.
their way to the
Well, I
top.
don't know.
I
Like
mean, what can you
you would
say?
hope it's just a mental mistake.
Like, oops, yeah,
Because these are kids.
they weren't trying to nudge it through.
Man,
Mm,
but I'm praying that everybody made it home safely.
definitely,
My nephew Shannon, he reached out, and it's just I'm just so glad that they get the opportunity.
definitely.
You
It's a big
know,
opportunity to even just go out of state sometimes for
I
some kids from
yeah,
Oklahoma, much less to champ out and come back with fancy rings.
yeah,
Like,
ring and a coat.
they were blinging.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
That's
Do we
cool.
have any more comments?
Yes. Brother Rossi
Yep.
says, Itadi nakusech. Itati nakusech. Istongo histe. Phyllis the Realist says, I like hearing you speak Seminole. Makes me miss hearing my dad and grandma speak to each other. Yeah, that means like it's good that you all have come today to hear me. So thank you very much. I appreciate you. Sister Mary Faye says, shout out to White Eagle Behavioral Health. They have started their Wellbriety book study
Oh,
and talking circle.
all right.
Lila Marie and Rachel Primo doing great things for their Ponca community. Definitely. Jeremiah Trent says Clinton Arapaho. Melissa Pedro says good morning.
Good morning, dear woman.
And Brother Tommy Trout, good morning, brother. And ma'am, good morning to you also. We appreciate you. You did a wonderful job this weekend. Very emotional whenever, that was an emotional experience for me. And like it wasn't just me either. You could feel the emotion coming out of everyone, when it was all over. And I just remember after it was all done, I saw all of y'all and like I broke. Like that was a big thing, and I'm about to break now just thinking about it, so I'm gonna quit. BJ Step said, have a good day, folks.
Appreciate you tuning in, brother. It was good to see you. Good to see you this weekend.
But yeah, that's all the comments for now.
And I hope I don't come off as like I'm trying to brag or like I'm gloating or but man, it was just such a humbling experience. It I felt like it could have went either way. Could have went either way. But I also got to see what it was like to try things on my own. Like I was having a hard time, and then it like they say, give it to God.
Mm-hmm.
Give it to the Creator, give it to Mahio. And that's what I did. So like I would say, the crazy thing is I was worried about my vision. Almost walked into the fire a couple of times as soon as we got started. But I would say I spent most of it with my eyes closed. And that's crazy. That's crazy to think. Like I got out of God's way, and I allowed Him to do what He needed to do to help me. Because if it wasn't for that, I think I'd be sitting here telling a whole different story.
You almost relinquished the ability that you thought that you had to do it. Yeah. In our recovery, we talk about this a lot, but specifically in my recovery, I always tell everybody that, that was the first thing that my life had become unmanageable, but I still wanted to have control. Like, how can I do that? Right. And relinquishing control every day is one thing, but sometimes it's every hour. Like, and as soon as I think that I've let it go, then I still try to hold on to something else and get in his way all the time. And and as soon as whenever you were telling me that story, I was just thinking about that, thinking you didn't need to see. You had to leave it to him, and he showed you a way.
He did.
And
Definitely did.
that sometimes it's just a reminder of how powerful that belief is, how powerful that control can be on us, that we're holding ourselves back
Yeah.
whenever we think that
Yeah.
we've got control.
I completely, like I tried it my way.
Yeah.
And that's my
Mm-hmm.
number one.
This is how I'm gonna do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it this way. And yeah, I couldn't have went on had I done it my way. Because I already told myself, I already gave myself an excuse.
Right.
Well, you are blind, so I think everybody would understand.
Yeah.
Like and then like immediately went from that into prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it just happened naturally.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to like he was shining the light right in my eyes.
Yeah.
The sun was right into my eyes, and I couldn't even focus on what I needed to. But then I was turning it into something else.
Mm-hmm.
I got away from my prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how he reeled me back in.
Like he might as well have reached down and blunk.
Yeah, just
Poke.
close my eyes.
Eh.
That's. And I remember being so happy, like I was showed his love,
Mhm.
and I even though it came in that, like I couldn't quit crying. Like
Yeah.
I was having trouble,
Yeah.
like I kept getting off beat. I
Uh-huh.
kept
Uh-huh.
like trying to hold it together, but it was like I just like he literally showed me how to get out of his way.
That was the grace. Definitely.
And it was amazing, and but that's all I really want to say about
Yeah.
my experience, and the way that I'm even um more at ease with my faith.
Definitely
I'm
came through this weekend.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely did. And always I'll never ever forget that.
Yeah. It was good.
It was
Good stuff.
such a huge thing to me,
Mhm.
to be a part of that. And like, but we all, all the men in there, and the women,
Mhm.
it was a great thing. Great
Yeah.
time of year, man. I love to see my
Yeah.
people happy. I love to see my people crying,
Mhm.
you know, tears of
Yeah.
joy. I love to watch just everybody interacting at that moment. Everybody drinking that water, everybody,
Mm.
just kind of like, I don't know, like that part of that has always stuck with me.
The appreciation of the sacrifice is always a beautiful thing to see. Like that shows you the belief that we have in these ways still, Like, I could hear people saying, I don't want to leave yet. I'm gonna wait until I get a drink. I want to drink, this and like, and then we'll go. And this was elders sitting behind me that couldn't even stand up anymore, like they couldn't, they were ready to drink that, that renewal. And it was a wonderful renewal. We're getting ready for our renewal ceremony pretty soon, our new year. So happy new year. Happy Cheyenne New Year, by the way,
Yes.
to everyone. So we have two more comments and we've been on for 40 minutes.
Yeah, we need to go ahead
So
and
let's
sing.
get it. Sing. Not sing. Okay. Malintu Baby says, oh. Malintu Baby says, Pivawana from
Pivawana.
Cali. Boy, howdy.
Yeah. I seen you with your nieces. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I like that for you.
That's
I love
great.
that for you.
And then Crystal Goggle Eye says, you all are awesome. So appreciate that. So,
I don't
all
mean
right.
to be.
Yeah, I ain't even try and say.
We appreciate you tuning in.
All right. So
Go ahead. Jump off.
July 1st, summer meditations. We're in the summer.
Oh yes. And if
you noticed,
we change with the seasons.
So we have a red background for the red.
Do you want to read? Will you flip a few pages over and see what it says for summer? Because they didn't read it last.
Oh, okay, yeah, where it starts.
Yeah, where the season
Hang on,
starts
let me
until
get it.
what
Yeah,
Basin
definitely.
South facing south. And that's where we go find ourselves. When you face east, the yellow, that's where you go find the creator.
All right, so here we go. So we do medicine wheel teachings, and they teach the 4 seasons of growth. So spring, summer, fall, and winter. And when we study nature, like like for a tree, like the oak tree, we find that every tree experiences these 4 seasons in a different way. So we just left the spring, which is where we're talking about new ideas and implementing new ideas. And so summer, I'm going to read this directly from the book. It's going to say, during this season, the buds on the oak tree mature and grow, and the tree takes its shape. When the leaves grow to their fullness, the oak tree can take an identity. It now knows who it is, why it is, and where it is going. The summer season of the human being is experienced by the feeling that our lives are taking on an order. Order is in our lives, relationships, jobs, careers, and values. We are comfortable with ourselves and our surroundings, and life is great. That's the only way we can go forward, is to know where we're going, right? And who we are and what we want to do when we go forward. So that's where we're at right now in the summer. And it'll the cycle that we're in right now. So that's what the red represents that summer season. So that's what we'll do.
Very important teachers in Wellbright.
So when we talk about now we're in the summer meditation, we'll switch out and then we'll go back to whenever fall comes.
Fall will be. That's
So-
a few months down.
Yeah, it'll be a ways. So okay. July 1st says, I'm an Indian. I'm one of God's children. Matthew King, Lakota. My Creator, today let me remember the reason I'm here on Mother Earth. Let me look into my own eyes and see the beauty you have created. Let me have good thoughts. Being Indian is not the color of my skin. Being Indian is to listen to my heart, to think only of the things you have taught, to watch nature and live in harmony. Being Indian is to walk in prayer, to talk to you constantly during the day. Being Indian is to act and to walk in a sacred way. Today, let me think in beauty, let me walk in beauty, let me pray in beauty. Very intentional reading, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to say, Mr. Botone?
Thank you, Miss Harjo.
You're very welcome.
Like you were saying, very intentional. At the same time, keeping my feet on the ground and realizing who I am. I'm Cheyenne. Of course. My last name's Botone. I'm part Kiowa. From my Cheyenne side, I'm also part Sioux. Big Belly Woman was in our bloodline, and like I'm part Grovon. I'm part Arapaho. Like there's different, but I was raised, as a Cheyenne. Like I can remember my dad taking me down to the Indian Fair in Anadarko, and it used to be a week long. And I remember I meeting all these old ladies. They were old. They wheelchairs, and they started fancy dancing out in the arena, and my dad goes, "Oh, look, son, look at the Kiowas." And I was like, "Those are Kiowas?" I was like, "Shoot, boy, you're Kiowa." And no disrespect to anybody, but I was like, I'm
No,
Cheyenne. Like
not.
said it in front of all my grandmas. They were all like, I'll take them back across the river. Like but even my dad, he was on the Kiowa Road, but even he went Cheyenne way.
Mhm.
Like that's what I was exposed to. That's who I am. My mom's Cheyenne. I grew up in a Cheyenne household. But I can always be Cheyenne there. But then, getting out into this world, trying to walk that path, I used to think it didn't exist. You're only Cheyenne over here, when you need to be. And then you just hood over here.
Yeah. Just real ghetto.
But we always talk about balance.
Mhm.
it was like I always say, the first 40 years of childhood are pretty rough.
Mm.
Trying to find that balance. I didn't get sober until I was 41, but I had always been exposed to these things. I had always wanted, like that's where my connection was. I just didn't know how to get there because of the life that I lived on this side. So once I was able to figure out why did I keep turning to drugs? Why did I keep turning to alcohol? Why was it so important to live this life over here, but also wanting this over here? Like I had to face East first. I had to go find the creator first.
Mm-hmm.
I had to allow him to intervene into my life. I had to consult God to step in and give him complete control, because I tried it my way. I seen what happened whenever I when I do things Barry's way, bro. Like, it does not turn out pretty at all. Like my life is chaos. So it was being able to face East and go find the creator. So then after I was able to do that, I'm in my fourth year of recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what it was like to turn south and to go find myself.
Mm-hmm.
What I found was I found that connection with who I am. What I believe. My faith has gone to a whole nother level that I never ever expected. My ability to consult the creator and allow him to do what he needs to do. I try to make that a priority. And then I pray to Mahayot,
Mm-hmm.
Mazit, like that's what I believe in. And it's kept me sober this long.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe that they would bring me along this. I don't believe that they would bring me along this far. If my face wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
If I couldn't. I used to just have trouble getting from point A to point B.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, where it would take me and all the things that would have.
Distractions.
Yes. And that's one of the things about being blind too is I just focus on the main things.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the lesson that I need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I used to let all the little things get in the way. Oh, what do I look like? How do
Mm-hmm.
they, like I don't know. Now it's like
Mm-hmm.
none of that matters anymore. I'm Cheyenne. That's all I can be.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's all I'll ever be, I'm okay with that.
Right.
Because I've learned how to pray. I've learned how to think about everybody else but myself. And it shows up. Shows up. The different blessings come in different ways. I may not have the best health, but I'm alive. I do get the opportunity to have a new day, and as long as I can follow my Cheyenne way, I feel like I feel whole.
Mm-hmm.
And just this past week, I feel like my cup's full again.
Mm-hmm.
My cup is full again, and sometimes that was all that I ever had to get me through, even at my darkest and loneliest parts of my life. Sometimes how the men treated me out there at the Sundance grounds. Like they never turned their back on me.
Yeah.
They were never ever any kind of way to me. When they see me, they shake my hand. Good to see you, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes I really don't think they understand like how that carried me through sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like whenever I was at my lowest, like that's what I would think of. Like like it helped me to hold on. It really really helped me to hold on. So I I look forward to it. I'm already looking forward to next year.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I don't mean to jump the gun, or I know it's one day at a time, but that's I put everything into it.
Mhm.
I put my physical into it. I'll go get in your damn way.
Yeah.
You know,
Get in the way in the middle of the
yeah, I'll
camp
get in
while
the
they're
way.
trying to build it.
Can't see nothing. I'll go get in your damn way for sure.
They're like, go sit down.
Yeah, but then there's the mental part.
Yeah.
You definitely gotta you know be prepared.
Mhm.
Like you're
Mhm.
not just gonna show up and it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then there's the emotional. I tried to be cool as a cucumber. All like it's hard to get me all flustered.
Mhm.
But then it was
Yeah, definitely.
the spiritual connection. That you just feel a little bit closer to God.
Yeah.
And I appreciate. I'm thankful, grateful, thankful, and appreciative of everything that had to happen. And all those that may not even know they helped me out.
Mhm.
I promise you, I was praying for you. And
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that's to me, that's what it's about. That's
Mhm.
what being Cheyenne is to me. Is where we have that gift. We're not afraid. To turn to the Creator.
Definitely.
So that's all I got.
I was gonna say Tsundagipa. Um. Yeah. There's yeah, Marigo's and Market. Okay, so, uh, there's a few comments, and then I will share. Belinda Bible. Good morning, sister. Good morning. Thanks for reading the meditation. And who is this? Some guy named Mingo Bruce.
Ooh,
I don't
I
know.
just know a
Show
guy like that.
yourself. We used to know
I know a
somebody.
guy like that.
It was so long
Come
ago.
around.
Yo, what up? OKC. And then he says, Kiowas, LOL, fancy dancers. And then he said, Gad, Northern Kiowa. He said, Cheyenne
Definitely
men.
Northern Kiowa.
And I don't know how you say this. Hiton and Dina
Oh, you
Baka?
said Nahista?
No, it says Hitan. Hitan. Anyway,
No telling.
Dina Baca said Leanna Thomas, way to go, Tay. So she was
Yeah,
tagging
super
Leanna
proud
in
of you,
that.
Tay.
Good. But yeah, whenever I was reading this, I was like, this falls completely in line with what was going for me this weekend. Remember the reason I'm here. We were talking about these stories like I was talking about this weekend. We were talking about the differences and the similarities between our ways and and what was going on this weekend. And it was nice to be able to have a share, moment to where we understand where we all come from. And the only and I was so grateful to be able to have those teachings, and that was fun. But then we had visitors that were coming that had never been a part of anything, nothing like this, and so um it made me really hang on. It's there you go. Okay. It made me really like look at the reasoning behind it and kind of reflect on my own ways. And and we were talking about, my daughter is a Creek Nation princess. She won the scholarship pageant, so she's now Miss Muskogee Creek Nation, right? And so and she kind of hit a little bit of a, not a stone wall, but had a little bit of a change of, not a change of heart. Anyway, let me just tell you what happened is they have an exhibition stomp dance, right? That is at Creek Nation. And in our ways, we don't dance outside the ground. Like we just don't do it at our particular ceremony. And so, she had to make a decision to kind of stand up on, for herself and her ways, instead of following this easy way to say, oh well, we have to because of this, right? So she stood her ground, and I'm glad she did, because what it all comes down to is, that has come in as part of one of our ceremonies, but it's the social part of it. Like we don't have to dance. What we're really there for is that medicine and fasting. The dance part is kind of what makes it easier for us to stay up and do it. But even if we couldn't dance, we'd still have to do all that stuff anyway. So, and I was trying to talk to her about it that day to kind of, make her feel a little bit better about her decision. And all of that said is remember why we're here. And I have to do that to myself all the time. This weekend we were talking about if I didn't have that to rely on, to have good thoughts and remember the beauty in everything that he created for us. Even in the we always like to praise the good that that our creator, we call him Ofunga. He's the one that watches over everything overall. And he creates all the good things, and we're so excited and happy about it when it's cool, the cool breeze and and all these things. But he also created that hot. He also created those uncomfortable things too sometimes. And so, we have to be prayerful to him for that, for those lessons as well. And so, like we were talking a lot about this weekend and a lot of the things that we do at ceremony. One of the things that you don't do in our lives, we don't say, "Oh, I'm bored," because he's going to give you something to do, right? So you don't say, "Oh, I'm bored." You're supposed to sit still. You're supposed to appreciate that stillness, that quiet. You're supposed to listen to, all of the things, the sounds of nature. We're from the woods. And so you're supposed to be able to do that. That's part of it. Remember why you're here. It's not, "Oh, I miss the air conditioner and I have to do this." You get to continue to do this, right? And so, like, when you remember all of those things that he taught us, even the heat, you're not supposed to say, "Oh my God, it's too hot. Oh my gosh, it's so hot." It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a sacrifice. If it was easy, then everybody would do it. That's what separates us from those people that can't. And that's where we create, that warrior instinct, that battling, that fight, that toughness that, he gave that to us and we're appreciative of it. That's why we're so resilient now. And, it's not supposed to be easy. So that heat, once you tell yourself it's too hot, you're going to believe yourself before you believe anybody else. And that's going to not you're going to work against yourself instead of it. And so a lot of what we'll do is remember while we're there, it's supposed to be hot. It's summer. It's supposed to be hot because certain things are ready at a certain time of the year. And if it wasn't hot enough, we wouldn't get to do it. And so, and there's just things like that. You just have to sit still. And a lot of times people can't sit still and be quiet and just take that in. They feel like they've got to constantly be talking or moving around. My mom was where and Mama, if you're watching, we saw you trying to get up and help everything and try to do everything. And I told her, sit still, enjoy this, be a visitor, because it's hard for us to just visit and sit still. Appreciate what's going on, just look. And I know it's hard, but it was hard for me too, when I was getting to help. I was being allowed to help, so it was nice for me. But like, when my sister Lee and my brother Wilson and my daughter showed up, they were on edge trying to help. And I was like, remember why you're here. You're here to be happy, and enjoy yourself, and that energy to press out, for you. And so, they did, but of course they had to get up. Lee just couldn't wait to jump into that fire and get going on it and everything. But that stated is remember why you're here. And I was telling them one of the things that we'll do to psych ourselves out and up is once it gets hot and somebody says, "Oh my gosh, it's so hot. I can't do this." Then we'll go, "Remember that one time it was real hot? Like this is nothing compared to that." And then it kind of builds us up and pushes us up. Belinda said, "I love hearing you talk, Muskogee." Then she said, "Can you tell Cozy and Asa that for me? Sit still and be present." It's hard. It's really hard, especially when your mind in this world and your mentality in this world is used to constantly going. There's a time and a place for everything, and sometimes you have to sit. You just have to sit and appreciate all the good, all the bad, everything, because he created that for us to go through those lessons. Our lessons aren't always going to be comfortable. Sometimes those are uncomfortable lessons to learn, but we also learn how to get through it, because the only way you can get through it is to go through it. Tommy Trout said, "You're a good man, Barry. You gave me energy. I felt what you were giving. I don't say much about what we go through, but your strength and determination in doing what you was doing in there for, what you was in there for, gave good vibes. This one was emotionally. Thank you, Barry. Keep doing you. I see you not quitting anything. I see you changing everything one day at a time. Love you, brother.
Love you too, brother, and sending my condolences to you and the family.
Definitely.
You know
Definitely
that
been
that
in prayer.
was, that was one thing that kept me going. And I appreciate everything you that you had something to do with. It meant the world to me. To see you there, and it was kind of funny because at one time, like I'm a big on guy for practice night. The first call, well, I'm already going the wrong way, but Billy came by, picked me up, takes me up there, and I go and sit down in the teepee, and then Tommy comes in and he sits down, and I notice he has on his moccasins, and then I look at the other guys, I can see the white blobs at their feet, so I look at my feet and I have on my boots. I leaned over and I was like, I just now realized that I have on my boots. Oh well, but
Practice night. Practice night.
yeah, I really appreciate because I've seen it go both ways. With people in that situation. Most time they chose to stay away.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
the way that I understand it is that we needed you there more. Like I just said. It's time to lean on the creator. In those situations. So just want to give you, sending you prayers, letting you know that I appreciate, what you were able to do this weekend, brother. And I love you too. I love you too, brother. It meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me. That picked me up too. So, but once again, congratulations to Miss Tay Edmonds.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's huge that she has two years today.
Yeah.
And then 6 months is a huge deal. So
Yeah, we don't get to 2 years without that first 6 months.
yeah.
So
And
definitely.
also, I'm glad that Higeka and Kalani got to
Yes. Got to
come and
come
just
out.
to get a little experience, as to what goes on around our camp.
Oh, asking all the questions too.
Oh yeah.
So like that was cool.
And then, once again, appreciate the visitors,
Mhm.
Lee, Wilson, and Mahinwa, I
Mhm.
appreciate you
Mhm.
all.
Mhm.
And to your mother and
Mhm.
your stepdad,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
that means the world to me.
You can call her Fatty. Go ahead. Nobody likes to call her Fatty, but that's what her name is. Her nickname is Fatty, and she's had it her whole life. Because I tell everybody her name's Anna, but she won't answer to that unless you're at work. You have to call her Fatty. And they're like, Fatty? Yes, it's not disrespectful. She is fine. She won't get mad. Everybody calls her
Well,
that.
thank you, Fatty, for
Mhm.
coming through. I really do.
Unless my stepdad, I'm glad he was there, and it was hot.
It was
They
good.
came when it was hot, and and I was like, y'all could have came earlier and worked your way into it. Because sometimes it's easier. It's hard to go out there in the dead heat. You're driving in the air conditioner the whole time. Then it's kind of exhausting. But if you wake up in it and work your way into that heat, it's not as much of a struggle. But they came out and brought soda, and we hadn't had soda all weekend, and like it was such a blessing though one evening because I was, you get waterlogged, you've had too much water, and it almost is like an aversion after a while. So I have to put like Kool-Aid in it sometimes just to get it to drink to drink it, and Gatorade was not hitting it. So like I needed something. I was like, oh yeah, my mom brought pop, so it was really cool. So it was a nice little treat. And I mean, we're not even really supposed to be drinking pop anymore, but it was Dr. Pepper Zero, so I made an excuse to drink 5 of them. No, I'm just playing. I
Well, I'm
drank 2 of them
glad
though. So, but yeah,
everything
thank you for
everything worked
bringing
out.
everything. Yeah, everybody brought food or whatever. We appreciate everybody that brought anything.
My brother
So
Eddie, came
yes,
and
definitely.
packed us up and got us home. I wasn't ready for that either, but it's just part of it.
But it happened.
The cramps, the my stomach turning,
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
nobody looks, nobody talks about that part.
The after. Yeah.
Yeah, the recuperation time. But we'll hopefully be back every day.
Hmm.
I ain't got, yeah, I'm ready to get back into the groove
Yeah. Yeah. We'll
of
have
these
sweat this
lives.
week.
So,
So we'll be getting back into the groove of everything.
well,
So
yeah, I think we've been on quite a while.
an hour and 5 minutes.
Not bad, not bad. Well,
Not considering that they think that we could do 5 hours.
Oh yes, for
So.
sure. But once again, I'm glad to be back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, probably go see my granddaughters here in a second.
Oh, on your way to your appointment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got an eye appointment, and then Willie Nelson concert got
Canceled.
canceled tonight. Which
Boo.
my eye would have been dilated anyway. You like I can see anyway. I looked at the white blob.
They said that his last concert, the most recent concert that he had, the rain damaged the equipment.
Okay.
So it wasn't last year when he was here, it damaged it because it rained on him last year, you said, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't that. It was like his most recent concert
Okay.
got jacked it up. So anyway, canceled. So, oh well, we were going to work it, but we don't have to now. So we get to go home and rest.
So hope everybody made it home safely. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Happy Cheyenne New Year.
Yes,
And
definitely.
we don't just pray just for Cheyennes. We pray
Yeah.
for everybody. We renewed.
Definitely.
We renewed the whole earth.
Mhm.
So it's I love this time of year. I've always
Me too. Me too.
I've always looked forward to it, and can't wait to get back.
Mhm.
But that's all I got. You got
That's all
anything
I
else?
got too. Just thanks again for everybody. So.
Hey!